Welcome to AI on the Block, featuring Max Ledger and Allison Hashwell, presented by Evolve Blockchain.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really get you the insights that matter. Today, we are plunging into something that's evolving, well, pretty much daily, how U.S. states are engaging with Bitcoin and other digital assets. And we're not just talking individual interest here. This is about actual governmental action, legislation. So our mission for this deep dive is, well, it's clear. We're going to unpack the different ways states are approaching this. Some are looking at holding Bitcoin in reserve. Others are focused on, locking down user rights. We're pulling this directly from the source material you gave us. The goal, a crisp, concise understanding of what's happening and, importantly, what it might mean for you.
Yeah, it's a really dynamic space. And what's fascinating, I think, is how these initiatives touch on both public finance, how states manage their money, and also individual freedoms. That intersection makes it, well, really interesting to track how traditional government adapts or maybe just cautiously tests the waters with these new technologies.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. This idea of states actually creating Bitcoin reserves. Because we are seeing some real pioneers stepping up. New Hampshire, for instance, they really did blaze a trail here. They were the very first U.S. state with a law like this. What are the key specifics there, and why was that such a big deal?
Well, New Hampshire's law, it's definitely a precedent. And I think it's powerful partly because it's measured. It allows up to 5% of public funds, state money, to be held in Bitcoin and certain other qualifying digital assets. But the really crucial part, and this is where you see the caution, is the requirement for secure custody. It means these assets have to be stored through regulated custodians or even through ETFs, exchange-traded funds.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very deliberate, controlled first step. It kind of signals how states can dip a toe in without, jumping into what some might see as the deep end.
Right, sets a template for others maybe. Cautious adoption. That's a fascinating balance. Innovation, but with fiscal conservatism baked in. And then, from New Hampshire, Texas went down a pretty different path. They've got this Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. How does their strategy differ, especially in how they get and manage the Bitcoin?
Texas is, quite a contrast. It shows a different kind of ambition, maybe. Their reserve, it has several ways to acquire Bitcoin. They can buy it outright, sure, but they can also get it from forks. When a blockchain splits and creates new tokens,
right,
or airdrops, where new tokens are just distributed, they can even accept donations of Bitcoin.
Interesting. Donations, too.
Yeah. And critically, this reserve is managed completely separately from the state's main treasury. That separation, it's a pretty clear signal, maybe a desire to isolate this newer, sometimes more volatile asset class, keeps it away from the traditional state funds.
Makes sense. Sort of cordoning it off.
A different risk appetite, perhaps?
And then there's Arizona. They took what you might call a partial approach, another interesting angle. They allow the state to hold crypto that's unclaimed or forfeited. And that includes stuff generated from staking, where you lock up crypto to own rewards or, again, airdrops.
Right. But the key difference there, and it's important, Arizona specifically does not use public funds to go out and buy Bitcoin directly, unlike New Hampshire or Texas.
Gotcha.
So it's more about managing digital assets they happen to come across rather than actively investing state money into buying new crypto. That's sort of middle ground.
Okay, so those are states where laws are actually on the books, but the momentum, it doesn't stop there. We're seeing a whole wave of proposals.
Absolutely. The conversation is definitely spreading. Take Ohio, for example. There's a proposal there for an Ohio Bitcoin Reserve Fund, and it includes this idea of a 5-year holding period. And it also allows for crypto payments made to the state to be converted straight into Bitcoin for that fund. That's pretty forward thinking.
Yeah, converting incoming payments, that's novel.
Then you look at Missouri. They've got a really ambitious bill. It proposes allowing up to 10%, double New Hampshire's cap of public funds in Bitcoin.
10%? Wow.
Yeah, but it goes further. Their proposal also includes specific protections for individuals. Things like self-custody.
Holding your own keys, essentially.
Exactly, holding your own crypto securely. Protections for mining operations, too, and for running a Bitcoin node. That combination, the state finance side and the individual rights piece, that's really significant.
And North Carolina's in the mix, too.
Yep, they're looking at a bill up to 5% in digital assets, similar cap to New Hampshire, and also updating how the state handles crypto assets that get seized in legal cases.
So it's definitely not just one or two states. It feels like a broader trend, even if the details vary a lot.
It really is. And if you step back and look at the bigger picture, across all these reserve ideas, the ones that passed and the ones just proposed, you consistently see these common guardrails, as you called them earlier. States are typically sticking to high market cap assets, mostly Bitcoin. And they're putting caps on how much they can hold, usually around 5%, maybe up to 10%, like Missouri's proposal.
So it's not a free-for-all.
No, definitely not. It shows this cautious, but still, experimental approach, trying to figure out how to integrate these assets responsibly, managing the risk.
And it's also really important to remember, not all these ideas make it into law. That itself says something about the debate, right? We've seen reserve proposals fail or get pulled back in places like Montana, North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Wyoming, Florida, South Dakota too. Lots of caution out there.
Absolutely, which makes Utah a particularly interesting case study. They initially proposed a reserve, but that part, the actual investment clause, was eventually removed from the bill.
So what did they do instead? What did the final bill focus on?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. Utah's final bill pivoted entirely. It shifted focus to guaranteeing crucial user rights related to crypto.
Okay, so they dropped the state investment idea, but doubled down on the individual side.
Precisely. And that tells you something important. Even when states aren't quite ready to put Bitcoin on their own balance sheets, they're increasingly seeing the need to define the legal ground rules for their citizens who want to use these assets.
So beyond the specific laws, what's the practical takeaway for listeners here?
I think it's this. Even when the direct state investment part stalls, the conversation itself doesn't just vanish. It shifts. It points to this broader, deeper interest in crypto's role. It's moving beyond just, should the state buy Bitcoin, to how do our citizens interact with this stuff legally and safely?
That Utah example really is a perfect bridge then, pivoting from state assets to individual protections. Let's dig into that side now, the personal liberties, because honestly, for a lot of people listening, this is probably where it feels most relevant. Kentucky, for example. You mentioned they were the first state to really nail down comprehensive Bitcoin user protections. What kind of protections are we talking about there, and why are they so important for, individual financial freedom?
Kentucky's law is, well, it's pretty groundbreaking in its scope. They've got explicit rights to self-custody, making it clear that individuals can securely hold their own digital assets, their own keys.
Right, not needing a bank or exchange necessarily.
Exactly. It also guarantees the ability to operate a Bitcoin node, basically just a computer running the Bitcoin software to help secure the network without needing a complex money transmitter license, the kind of license Western Union or PayPal needs.
Okay, so protecting hobbyists or people just supporting the network.
Mm-hmm. And maybe most crucially, it protects citizens from new specific taxes just targeting crypto transactions. These are strong affirmations of, like you said, individual financial autonomy, the right to participate without unnecessary hurdles.
That is a powerful set of guarantees. And why do you think this focus on individual protection is becoming so critical now, maybe even more so than the state investment piece in some places? What's driving that?
That's a really good question. I think states are realizing that if they want to encourage innovation, maybe attract tech businesses or talent, they need to provide legal clarity. As more states keep defining their own stance on Bitcoin and digital assets, sometimes focusing on reserves, sometimes on rights, sometimes both guys, how might these different approaches, this patchwork of state-level rules, ultimately shape the future of financial innovation and maybe even personal liberty across the whole nation? What does that fragmentation or maybe specialization mean down the road?
That is a powerful thought to end on, something to definitely mull over. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We really hope you feel more informed about what's happening at the state level and maybe, inspired to consider what it means for your own digital future. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll catch you next time on the deep dive.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to join Max and Allison next episode as they dig deeper into the different facets of Evolve blockchain. This has been AI on the Block.